Like, you're not retarded at all, are you? Hey guys! So, today I want to be talking about this question that people are probably not even necessarily asking themselves, but I'm gonna answer it anyways. And that question is autism a disability? And now in order to answer that question, of course, first we have to look at the question, what actually is a disability? And now that question seems easy to answer. What we think about if we think about disabilities or people with disabilities is people that have some kind of impairment on one or more levels, so either physically or intellectually or in the way we process things, in social interaction or anything. Like, it can literally be anything, like some kind of impairment in some kind of area. So the question, is something a disability or is someone disabled, should be easy to answer by just looking at whether or not they have some kind of impairment. Except it isn't. Whether or not somebody has an actual impairment or has actual struggle isn't often necessarily considered when looking at whether or not that person has a disability. In our society, basically everyone's disabled if they don't fit the norm, because not fitting the norm cannot be right, because like everybody works like that, and then all of a sudden you don't. And whether or not you have an actual problem with that, or anyone else has an actual problem with that, or no one else has an actual problem with that, or everybody has an actual problem with that, doesn't really necessarily matter. You're disabled because you don't fit in. Either because you have one arm instead of two, or you have 3 heads, or you can't keep eye contact. Whether or not there's an actual problem going on doesn't necessarily have to do anything with it. And then we have another problem, which is the whole pure society thing. In our society, basically, if you are disabled, or if you have an illness, or if anything is wrong with you, you have to be cured, obviously. Except most autistic people I know actually don't want that. But wait, that doesn't matter, because like, somebody could have a problem with them not making eye contact with them, right? That's the problem with organizations like Autism Speaks. And I think a huge problem with this whole pure society, with this whole pure culture thing, is that you're not asking the people if they actually want to be cured, and you're just telling everyone that they should be, thus eventually making the people who can choose, like the parents, to try to cure them and to try to convince them you are fucking wrong. Trying to stop them from stimming, trying to get them to keep eye contact, trying to get them to not work on their special interests. These are autism related examples, because this channel is kind of about autism. So, and some things just can't be cured. Sometimes that's not an option you have. Sometimes you are just going to live with it. And why tell somebody you're wrong, you don't fit in, you should be cured, but you can't, so just live with being wrong? Do you know how that makes people feel? This is like where I don't like to use the word disability at all. In the beginning, I used to be like, I don't like calling autism a disability, but as I started to like think about this whole disability thing, I realized I don't like to use it at all. No matter if you have autism, Down syndrome, or sitting in a wheelchair, lost half your arm in a war, I don't like using the word disability, because nobody is disabled. What disables an autistic is not the fact that they're not able to make or keep eye contact. What disables them is society telling you that's what you have to do, because otherwise you're a rude asshole. What disables non-verbal people is not the fact that they can't talk, because they still can communicate with people. What disables them is society telling them, if you can't talk, you're obviously stupid. What disables a deaf person is not the fact that they can't hear. It's the fact that society is telling them, yeah, you obviously can't go to a normal school, you obviously can't do normal jobs because you can't hear, and you're supposed to be able to hear. If we were to go to a parallel universe in which, like, 98% of the people were autistic, and then there's like 1.5% that are neurotypical, would autism be considered a disability? No, it wouldn't, because autism would be the norm, even though it's the autistic people that might have the impairment, that might be blinded by lights. But then again, would there be those lights to blind an autistic person? Well, probably there would, because not everyone with autism has sensory processing disorder, and it's not the autism that makes you blinded by the light, it's the sensory processing disorder. But let's say everybody had the same kind of sensory processing disorder. Would there be those lights? No, there wouldn't. And then it would be the neurologically typical person, the neurologically typical people that would be like, fuck, I can't tell if that street light is red or green. Am I supposed to cross the street right now? And they would be the ones with an impairment. So does such a thing as an impairment actually exist? If like 99% of the population of the earth was sitting in a wheelchair, there wouldn't be any problems considering stairs or anything. Because why would anybody want to build a fucking set of stairs? There would be lifts or there would be ramps. And then let's say there's 1% of the population that is able to walk. Their thighs would hurt all the fucking time from like walking all those ramps up and down. Because like, I don't know if you ever went to the mountains for a while, but fucking does a lot to your thigh. So they would complain about their legs always hurting and their butt always hurting. So would there be an impairment in this scenario for those that do have working legs? I certainly think so. But calling them disabled sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? The whole concept of disability and impairment and whatever is totally a thing of scales and comparison, and that way I think it's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, while I will not deny who I am and what I am, if somebody asks me if I have a disability, I am going to say no for obvious reasons, because the whole concept is just so ridiculous. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Just tell me in the comments down there, pointing at my knees. That's what they're here for. So yeah, otherwise I will see you next week. Until then, I'm looking forward to having conversations in the comments, I guess.